Commander Elena Rodriguez stared at the massive viewscreen in the control room of Kepler 7 station. The alien ship hung in space like a dark crystal, its surface reflecting Jupiter's orange glow. She had seen many strange things during her 20 years in space, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. Dr. Marcus Webb bounced on his feet beside her, unable to contain his excitement. His hands shook as he adjusted his tablet for the 100th time. The xenobiologist had dreamed of this day since he was a child, and now it was finally happening. First contact with an alien species. Kai Nakamura sat at the communications console, his fingers dancing over the controls. The young officer had been the first to detect the alien signals 3 days ago. Since then, he had worked around the clock to establish a communication protocol with the visitors. The aliens called themselves the Velthrons. They claimed to represent something called the Galactic Collective, a union of civilized species that spanned thousands of star systems. Their message had been clear and simple. They wanted to meet with representatives of humanity to discuss Earth's future in the galaxy. Elena felt a chill run down her spine as she thought about those words. Earth's future. The way they said it made it sound like humanity had no choice in the matter. The station's doors hissed open, and 3 figures glided into the room. The Velthrons moved with an eerie grace, their tall, thin bodies seeming to float rather than walk. Their skin was pale blue and seemed to shimmer in the artificial light. Large black eyes dominated their faces, and Elena noticed they had no visible mouths. The lead Velthron stopped a few feet from the human delegation. When it spoke, the words seemed to appear directly in Elena's mind rather than coming through her ears. I am Velkith, Prime Speaker for this sector of the collective. We bring greetings from the galactic community and an offer of great significance. Dr. Webb stepped forward eagerly. This is incredible. We have so many questions about your species, your technology, your civilization. How long have you been watching us? How many other species are part of your collective? Velkith's large eyes fixed on the doctor. Your curiosity is noted, but there are more pressing matters to discuss. Humanity stands at a crossroads. You have developed nuclear technology and have begun to explore your local star system. This marks you as a species ready for integration into the galactic community. Elena's military instincts kicked in. Something about the alien's tone bothered her. It sounded less like an invitation and more like a demand. What exactly does integration mean? The galaxy is a dangerous place, Commander Rodriguez. There are threats that a young species like humanity cannot comprehend. Rogue artificial intelligences, stellar parasites, reality-warping entities that consume entire star systems. The collective exists to protect developing civilizations from these horrors. The alien moved closer, and Elena noticed that its feet never quite touched the floor. We offer humanity protection, guidance, and access to technologies beyond your current understanding. In return, we ask only that you accept our leadership in matters concerning galactic security. Dr. Webb's excitement dimmed slightly. Leadership? What kind of leadership? Your species will be relocated to carefully selected worlds within collective space. These worlds have been terraformed to provide ideal living conditions. You will be free to pursue art, science, and philosophy under our guidance. Your more aggressive tendencies will be gently redirected toward constructive purposes. Elena's blood ran cold. Relocated? You want us to abandon Earth? Earth is what we call a death world, Commander. It is far too dangerous for long-term habitation. The radiation levels, the unstable climate, the aggressive life forms, it is remarkable that your species survived at all. We have prepared much safer environments for you. Kai looked up from his console, his face pale. Commander, I'm picking up encrypted transmissions from their ship. The translation matrix can't decode them, but the volume has increased significantly since they came aboard. Velkith's black eyes turned toward the communications officer. Your monitoring systems are quite sophisticated for such a young species. Most civilizations at your development level cannot detect our secure channels. The alien's tone had changed slightly, and Elena noticed that the other 2 Velthrons had moved to positions that blocked the exits. Her hand instinctively moved. toward the sidearm at her hip. "We appreciate your offer," Elena said carefully, "but humanity will need time to consider such a significant decision. This affects our entire species. Time is a luxury you may not have, Commander. There are other forces in the galaxy that do not share our benevolent intentions. We have detected several hostile species moving toward this sector. They view emerging civilizations as either resources to be exploited or threats to be eliminated." Dr. Webb frowned. "If Earth is so dangerous, why would other species want to come here?" Velkith was silent for a long moment. "Deathworlds produce unique resources. Your species has developed certain traits that some find valuable. Others see these same traits as profoundly threatening." Elena felt the pieces of a puzzle clicking together in her mind. "What kind of traits?" "Your tolerance for radiation, your ability to function in extreme environments, your persistence in the face of adversity. These characteristics are extremely rare in the galaxy. Most species evolve on worlds that are far more stable and hospitable than Earth." Kai's console chimed softly. He glanced at the display and his eyes widened. "Commander, I've managed to decode some of their transmissions. I think you need to see this." Elena moved to his station, keeping one eye on the aliens. On the screen, she saw a partial translation of the Velthran communications. The words made her stomach drop. "Containment protocols ready. Human specimens show expected Deathworlder characteristics. Recommend immediate implementation of Collection Directive 7. Species poses significant threat if allowed to develop." Further, Elena looked up at Velkith, her training taking over. "Collection Directive 7? The alien's posture shifted slightly. "You have been monitoring our communications. This is unexpected. Answer the question." Directive 7 is a containment protocol for dangerous species. It involves the relocation of the entire population to controlled environments where they can be studied and their aggressive tendencies managed. Dr. Webb stepped back in horror. "You're talking about imprisonment. You want to put humanity in a zoo. The term is crude, but not entirely inaccurate. Your species is the product of a death world, Doctor. You are predators by nature, violent and unpredictable. Left unchecked, you would spread across the galaxy like a plague, consuming resources and destroying everything in your path." Elena's hand closed around her weapon. "And if we refuse your generous offer? Then you will be classified as a hostile species and dealt with accordingly. We have weapons that can sterilize your world from orbit. Your death would be quick and merciful." The room fell silent except for the hum of the station's life support systems. Elena could feel her heart pounding in her chest. She looked at Dr. Webb and saw her own fear reflected in his eyes. Kai's fingers flew over his console. "Commander, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from their ship. Multiple weapon systems are powering up." Velkith tilted its head. "You have 30 minutes to make your decision, Commander. Surrender peacefully and accept relocation, or watch your world burn. Choose wisely." Elena stared at the alien, her mind racing. Humanity had always known this day might come, that they might encounter a hostile species among the stars. But they had never imagined it would happen like this, with smiles and offers of protection that masked the cold reality of extinction. She thought about Earth, about the billions of people going about their daily lives, unaware that their entire future hung in the balance. She thought about human children playing in parks, artists creating beauty, scientists pushing the boundaries of knowledge. All of it could be gone in 30 minutes, but as she looked at Velkith's emotionless black eyes, Elena Rodriguez felt something stirring inside her that the alien had not expected. Not fear, not despair, but anger. Cold, calculating anger that would have made her ancestors proud. "We'll need to discuss this," she said finally. Velkith nodded. "You have 29 minutes remaining." Admiral James Morrison stood in the war room deep beneath the Pentagon, watching feeds from a dozen satellites as they tracked the alien ship near Jupiter. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the edge of the table hard, enough to make his knuckles white. Dr. Lydia Thornton sat at a nearby console. her laptop displaying charts and graphs that made no sense to the military personnel around her. The evolutionary biologist had been rushed to the Pentagon when the aliens first made contact, and she had spent the last 3 days preparing for this moment on the main screen. They could see the feed from Kepler 7 station where Commander Rodriguez was facing down the alien delegation. The audio was crystal clear, and everyone in the room had heard the ultimatum. Surrender or die. Admiral Morrison activated his communicator. Rodriguez, this is Morrison. What's your status? Elena's voice crackled through the speakers. Sir, we have a situation. The aliens want us to evacuate Earth voluntarily, or they'll do it by force. Not happening, Commander. Hold your position and keep them talking. Help is on the way. On Kepler 7, Elena looked at Velkith with renewed confidence. My superiors want to understand more about your concerns regarding our world. You mentioned that Earth is a death world. Can you explain what that means? The alien's large eyes seemed to grow even larger. Your ignorance of your own nature is disturbing, Commander. Perhaps a demonstration would be instructive. Velkith gestured, and the air above them shimmered. A holographic display appeared, showing images of various worlds across the galaxy. Each world was beautiful in its own way, crystal cities floating in gentle atmospheres, vast gardens under perfect suns, peaceful oceans with floating settlements. These are typical worlds where intelligent life develops, Velkith explained. Stable climates, moderate radiation levels, predictable weather patterns. The species that evolve on such worlds are naturally cooperative and peaceful. The display shifted to show Earth from space. Even from orbit, it looked violent and chaotic. Massive storm systems swirled across its surface, while volcanic activity lit up the dark side of the planet. Your world is an anomaly, Commander. It has ice ages that last for thousands of years, volcanic eruptions that can change the global climate, radiation levels that would kill most galactic species within hours. The life forms that survive in such an environment must be incredibly resilient and aggressive. Dr. Webb frowned. Aggressive? Humans aren't naturally aggressive. We're social creatures who work together. Doctor, your species has been in a state of constant warfare for its entire recorded history. You have developed weapons capable of destroying your own world multiple times over. You send your offspring into dangerous situations as a form of education, calling it adventure or sport. Back on Earth, Dr. Thornton leaned forward in her chair. She activated her microphone. Commander Rodriguez, ask them to be more specific about human adaptations. I need to understand what they're seeing. That we're not. Elena relayed the question, and Velkith's response made everyone in the Pentagon war room go silent. Your species can survive in environments that would be instantly lethal to most galactic citizens, the alien continued. You have individuals who climb mountains in temperatures that would freeze most beings solid, simply for entertainment. You swim in waters filled with predators that could kill you in seconds, calling it recreation. The holographic display showed images of human activities, mountain climbing, deep sea diving, volcano boarding, base jumping. To the aliens, these looked like the actions of insane death seekers. Your young participate in activities that involve deliberately injuring each other for sport. You consume toxins that would poison other species, calling them medicine or recreation. You have adapted to live in every environment on your world, from the frozen poles to the burning deserts to the crushing depths of your oceans. Dr. Thornton stood up suddenly. My God, they're right. We never thought about it because it's normal to us, but humans are incredibly adaptable compared to most life forms. We're one of the few species on Earth that can survive in almost any environment. Admiral Morrison looked at her. Explain. Think about it, sir. Humans live in the Arctic, in deserts at high altitudes in tropical jungles. We've adapted to radiation levels that would kill most animals. Our immune systems can handle toxins and diseases that wipe out other species. We voluntarily expose ourselves to extreme stress to become stronger. On the station, Velkith continued its explanation. Most intelligent species in the galaxy evolved defensive mechanisms, camouflage, flight, chemical deterrence. Your species evolved to hunt and kill creatures much larger and stronger than yourselves. You develop persistence hunting, the ability to chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. Elena felt a chill as she realized what the alien was saying. You think we're predators. Commander, your species doesn't just think like predators, you are predators. You work in coordinated groups to bring down targets. You use tools and weapons instinctively. When threatened, you don't flee or hide, you attack. The alien moved closer, its voice taking on an urgent tone. Do you understand what this means for the galaxy? A predator species with advanced technology and space travel capability? You would spread from world to world, consuming resources and eliminating anything that stands in your way. Dr. Webb shook his head vigorously. That's not true. Humans are capable of great compassion and cooperation. We've built civilizations based on helping each other. Yes, you cooperate with other humans, but you have no instinctive empathy for species that are different from you. You have driven hundreds of species on your own world to extinction without a second thought. You would do the same across the galaxy. In the Pentagon, Admiral Morrison was studying the data streaming in from around the globe. Military installations were reporting unusual activity, satellites going offline, communication systems experiencing interference, strange energy readings in Earth's upper atmosphere. They're not just threatening us, he said grimly. They're already starting their attack. Dr. Thornton was frantically typing on her laptop. Admiral, I think I understand what's happening. The aliens aren't just afraid of what humans might do. They're afraid of what we represent. Meaning? Every species they've described sounds like it evolved on a safe, stable world. They've never encountered a species like us before. We're proof that intelligence can evolve in a hostile environment, that cooperation and aggression can coexist. On Kepler 7, Elena could see that Velkith was becoming more agitated. The alien's calm demeanor was cracking as it spoke about humanity's potential threat to galactic civilization. Your species has something that no other intelligent race possesses: the ability to thrive in chaos. When your environment becomes more dangerous, you become stronger. When faced with extinction, you innovate and adapt. This makes you unpredictable and therefore extremely dangerous. Elena smiled grimly. So you're afraid of us? We are being prudent, Commander. In the 3 million years since the collective was founded, we have encountered over 12,000 intelligent species. None of them came from Deathworlds. None of them possessed your particular combination of aggression and adaptability. The alien gestured again, and the holographic display showed a timeline of galactic history. Thousands of peaceful species joining the collective, sharing technology and resources, living in harmony under Velthran guidance. We have built a stable, peaceful galaxy, Commander. Wars are rare, conflicts are resolved through negotiation, and all species contribute to the common good. Your arrival threatens to upset this balance. Kai looked up from his console, his face pale. Commander, I'm detecting massive energy spikes from their ship. Whatever they're charging up, it's big enough to crack a planet. Velketh's black eyes fixed on Elena. Your time is running out, Commander. Make your choice. Accept peaceful relocation and preserve your species, or force us to take more drastic measures. Elena thought about everything she had learned in the past few minutes. Humanity was apparently unique in the galaxy, a species of cooperative predators who had evolved on a world so hostile that their very existence was considered impossible. By galactic standards, she thought about human history, about all the times her species had faced extinction and fought back. Ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, wars. Humans had survived them all and become stronger. The alien was right about one thing. When faced with extinction, humans didn't give up. They fought back with everything they had. Elena looked directly into Velketh's emotionless eyes and smiled. You know what the funny thing is about predators? What? They don't just hunt prey, they protect their pack. The alien took a step back, suddenly realizing that something had changed in the human's demeanor. Elena Rodriguez was no longer afraid. She was angry, and that anger was spreading to every human who could hear her words. Admiral Morrison's voice crackled through the communicator. All stations, this is command. Activate Protocol 7. It's time to show our visitors what Deathworlders are really capable of. Captain Alex Stone watched the tactical display in the hidden command center buried 2 miles beneath the Colorado mountains. Red dots appeared across the globe as Velthran weapons began their bombardment of Earth's major cities. But for every red dot, 10 blue ones appeared in response. Dr. Nina Petrov stood beside him, her fingers dancing across multiple keyboards as she coordinated humanity's response. The weapons specialist had spent 15 years designing systems that most people hoped would never be used. Today she was finally seeing her life's work put to the test. Above ground, the first Velthran energy beams struck major population centers. New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai all experienced the alien attack simultaneously. But instead of the panic and chaos the Velthrans expected, something else happened. Emergency protocols that had been drilled for decades activated instantly. In Moscow, Viktor Kozlov's submarine fleet emerged from hidden underwater bases. In Lagos, Myra Okafor's defense networks came online, projecting energy shields over the city. In every major population center, humans responded with coordinated precision. Tommy Chun pulled his fighter craft out of a hidden hangar in the Australian outback. The young pilot had trained his entire life for this moment, though he had never believed it would actually come. His ship was unlike anything the aliens had seen before, a hybrid of human engineering and technologies that had been reverse-engineered from crashed alien probes over the past 50 years. On the Velthran command ship, Fleet Commander Zephyrin watched the human response with growing alarm. The tactical displays showed something that should have been impossible. Instead of breaking apart under attack, human resistance was becoming more organized by the minute. Status report, Zephyrin demanded. Sir, the humans are not responding as predicted. Their military installations are still functional despite our bombardment. They appear to have hardened their infrastructure against energy weapons. That's impossible. Our weapons can penetrate any known defensive technology. Sir, they're not using known technology. They've buried their command centers so deep that our scanners can't even detect them. Their communication systems are distributed across thousands of nodes. When we destroy one, 10 others take its place. Back on Earth, Captain Stone smiled grimly as he watched the alien confusion play out on his screens. Dr. Petrov, how long until the energy grid comes online? 30 seconds, Captain. The aliens are about to learn something very important about human engineering. Around the globe, massive Tesla coils began rising from hidden positions. These weren't the crude devices of the early 20th century, but advanced energy manipulation systems that could redirect and amplify electromagnetic fields. As the Velthran weapons continued their bombardment, the coils began absorbing the energy and redirecting it back into space. Tommy Chun banked his fighter around a massive alien beam, feeling the energy wash over his ship's shields. Unlike the Velthrans, who had built their technology for precision and efficiency, human engineers had built theirs for survival in hostile environments. His ship could take punishment that would destroy most alien craft. Control, this is Chun. I'm seeing something interesting up here? The alien ships aren't built for combat with anything that fights back. Captain Stone activated his communicator. Explain, pilot. Their hulls are designed for energy efficiency, not armor. They're fast and powerful, but fragile. It's like they've never fought an enemy that could actually hurt them. In the hidden bunkers beneath major cities, human commanders were reaching the same conclusion. The Velthran military was sophisticated but untested. They had conquered other species through overwhelming technological superiority, but they had never faced an enemy that could adapt and fight back. Myra Okafor stood in the defense center beneath Lagos, coordinating with commanders around the world. Pattern recognition is showing weaknesses in their attack formations. They're using tactics designed for pacifying helpless populations, not fighting a real war. The truth was becoming clear to human military analysts. The Velthran collective had never fought a true war. For millions of years, they had simply appeared at primitive worlds, demanded surrender, and relocated entire populations. They had no experience with an enemy that could match their technology and exceed their determination. Viktor Kozlov's submarine fleet had reached optimal position beneath the Atlantic. His vessels were equipped with weapons that the aliens had never encountered, not energy weapons or missiles, but something far more primitive and therefore unexpected. Kinetic penetrators, simple chunks of super-dense metal accelerated to incredible velocities. All vessels, this is Kozlov. Target the largest enemy ship and fire on my mark. Let's see how their shields handle old-fashioned momentum. The alien fleet commander watched in disbelief as primitive kinetic weapons punched through shields designed to stop energy beams. The projectiles moved too slowly to trigger the advanced defensive systems, but hit with enough force to crack. The hulls of several Velthran ships on Kepler 7 station. Velkith was receiving frantic reports from the fleet. Prime Speaker, the humans are not behaving according to any known combat doctrine. They're using multiple incompatible technologies simultaneously. Our tactical computers cannot predict their next move. Elena Rodriguez listened to the reports with growing satisfaction. Having trouble with Deathworlders, Velkith? This is impossible. No species can coordinate this level of resistance without centralized command. We have destroyed your primary communication hubs. Dr. Webb looked up from his tablet, where he had been monitoring global communications. You destroyed some of our communications, but humans don't think like your other subjects. We don't need central command to work together. The alien's black. Eyes narrowed. Explain. It's called emergence, Elena said. Individual humans making decisions based on local information, but working toward a common goal. You can't stop it by cutting off the head because there is no head. Around the world, this principle was playing out in real time. In Beijing, a group of computer programmers had hacked into the alien communication systems and were feeding false information to their fleet. In São Paulo, engineers were modifying construction equipment into improvised weapons. In Cairo, archaeologists were using ground-penetrating radar to track alien movements and relay the information to military units. The Velthrans had expected to face a military force. Instead, they were fighting an entire civilization. Tommy Chun dove his fighter through a formation of alien interceptors, using maneuvers that would have killed most pilots. Human pilots trained in Earth's chaotic atmosphere, dealing with unpredictable weather, equipment failures, and gravitational anomalies. Flying in the clean vacuum of space felt easy by comparison. Control, this is Chun. Their pilots are good. But they're too careful. They're not willing to take risks. Captain Stone nodded. Another advantage of being from a death world, humans were comfortable with risk in a way that other species weren't. When the stakes were high enough, humans would attempt things that rational beings would consider suicidal. Dr. Petrov was monitoring energy patterns from the alien fleet. Captain, I'm detecting massive power fluctuations from their command ship. They're charging something big. Their planet killer? Has to be. Energy signature matches what we detected when they first arrived. Captain Stone activated the global communication network. All units, this is command. They're preparing to use their ultimate weapon. Old defensive measures are now authorized. Around the world, humanity's deepest secrets came online. Weapons that had been hidden in ocean trenches, buried in mountain ranges, and disguised as civilian infrastructure. The aliens had thought they were fighting Earth's military. They were about to discover they had been fighting the entire planet. The Velthram planet killer began charging, its massive energy collectors drawing power from their fleet. It was a weapon that had destroyed dozens of worlds, reducing them to asteroid fields in seconds. No known defense could stop it, but as the weapon reached full charge and prepared to fire, Tommy Chen made a decision that would have terrified any rational being. He turned his fighter directly toward the planet killer and engaged his emergency thrusters. Chun, what are you doing? Captain Stone's voice crackled through the communicator. Something crazy, sir. But I think crazy might be exactly what these aliens don't expect. Tommy's ship screamed toward the massive alien weapon. its human-built engines pushing it far beyond safe operating limits. As he approached the energy discharge point, he did something that no sane pilot would attempt. He flew directly into the beam as it fired. The planet killer's energy beam struck Earth's atmosphere, but something was wrong. Instead of the devastating planet-cracking explosion the Velthrons expected, the beam seemed to scatter and dissipate. Tommy Chun's fighter, impossibly, was still intact and flying through the energy stream. On the command ship, Zephyrin stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "Report! Why didn't the planet killer work?" "Sir, the human pilot appears to have disrupted the beam's cohesion by flying through it. But that should have been instantly lethal." "Sir," another technician called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fighter." Tommy Chin's voice filled the alien command center, calm and steady despite having just flown through enough energy to sterilize a continent. "Hey there, alien friends. Nice light show, but you might want to recalibrate your weapons. They don't seem to work very well on Deathworlders." The implications hit Zephyron like a physical blow. The planet killer had failed not because of superior human technology, but because humans themselves were immune to its effects. These beings had evolved on a world so hostile that they could survive energies that would destroy most life forms in the galaxy. Elena, Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system, calm and implacable. "Velkith, I think it's time. We discussed new terms. You wanted to know what Deathworlders are capable of. Now you know. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Dr. Marcus Webb floated in the observation pod of the research vessel Darwin as it approached the third planet in the Kepler system. 2 weeks had passed since the failed Velthron attack on Earth, and now humanity was taking the initiative. What they had discovered was changing everything they thought they knew about life in the galaxy. Jor Martinez, the evolutionary warfare specialist, studied the readings on her tablet with growing amazement. The planet below had once been home to an intelligent species called the Kefler, but now it was nothing more than a carefully maintained garden world with scattered settlements of docile beings. Ben Rivers, the former Marine-turned-strategist, pointed at the tactical display. "Look at the population distribution. They've got these people spread out in small groups, completely dependent on Velthron technology for survival. Classic control pattern." On the planet's surface, the research team had made contact with a group of Kefler who still remembered their world before the Velthrons arrived. Their leader, an elderly being named Thekmun, spoke in halting words about the time when his people had been warriors and explorers. "We fought the star swimmers in the deep ocean," Thekmun said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We built cities in the stormlands where the wind could tear metal apart. But when the Skylords came, they said we were too violent, too dangerous." To ourselves, Dr. Webb recorded every word. "What happened to your warriors?" "The Skylords gave us medicine to make us peaceful. They said anger was a disease that needed to be cured. Now we grow food and make art, and the Skylords protect us from the dangers of the universe." Jorah looked at the genetic scans they had taken of the Kefler. "Marcus, look at this. Their brain chemistry has been artificially altered. The Velthrons have been drugging them for generations to suppress their natural aggression." Back on Earth, Captain Alex Stone stood in the command center, coordinating with research teams across a dozen star systems. What they were finding was horrifying in its scope. Every species the Velthrons had integrated into their collective had been systematically neutered, their natural survival instincts suppressed in the name of peace. Dr. Nina Petrov was analyzing captured Velthron technology, and what she found made her stomach turn. "Alex, these aren't just weapons. They're biological modification systems. The Velthrons have been rewriting the DNA of entire species to make them dependent and compliant." The truth was becoming clear. The Velthron Collective wasn't a benevolent alliance of civilized species. It was a vast prison system designed to prevent any species from developing the kind of independence and strength that might threaten Velthron. Control on the Velthron homeworld. High Counselor Zolfin paced frantically in the great chamber where the ruling council met. The reports from the human front were beyond anything in their historical records. Not only had the humans survived the planet-killer weapon, they had somehow become immune to its effects. Quinder, the collective's chief researcher, presented his findings to the terrified council. The humans appear to be evolving in real time. Their exposure to the planet-killer's energy has triggered adaptive mutations that make them even more resistant to our weapons. That's impossible, Zoltan said. Evolution takes millions of years, not on a Deathworld, counselor. The humans have been exposed to constant environmental pressure for their entire evolutionary history. Their genetic structure is designed for rapid adaptation. What would take other species millions of years to develop, humans can achieve in generations or even years. The implications were staggering. Every weapon the Velthrons used against humanity would only make them stronger and more resistant. They had accidentally triggered an evolutionary arms race that they could not win. On the research vessel Darwin, Dr. Webb was making connections that changed everything. He had been studying the genetic records of every species the Velthrons had conquered, and a pattern was emerging. "Ben, look at this," he called out excitedly. Every single species in the collective evolved on what we would consider garden worlds. Stable climates, abundant resources, minimal environmental pressure. They never had to develop the kind of adaptive capabilities that humans take for granted. Ben studied the data. So the Velthrons aren't just afraid of what we might do. They're afraid of what we represent. Exactly. We're proof that their entire system is flawed. They've created a galaxy of dependent species who can't survive without their protection. But humans prove that intelligence can develop independently, that species can become stronger through adversity rather than weaker. Jorah was monitoring communications from across human space. "Marcus, you need to see this. We're getting reports from every system where humans have made contact with collective species. The locals are asking questions, wanting to know how humans stayed free." The news was spreading faster than the Velthrons could contain it. Species that had been docile for thousands of years were suddenly remembering what their ancestors had been like before the integration. Some were even beginning to refuse their daily medications. Tommy Chun landed his fighter on the surface of a world called New Prosperity, where a species called the Vorth had been relocated after their homeworld was deemed too unstable. What? He found there made him sick with anger. The Vorth had once been a proud species of deep-sea explorers who had built magnificent cities in the crushing depths of their ocean world. Now they lived in shallow pools, their natural deep-diving abilities suppressed by genetic modifications that the Velthrons called safety improvements. "They told us the deep places were too dangerous," one of the Vorth elders explained to Tawny. "They said we would hurt ourselves if we went back to the crushing waters. But sometimes, in dreams, I remember what it felt like to swim in the deep currents where the great creatures lived." Tommy activated his communicator. "Command, this is Chen. We need to get these people back to their real world. They're dying here, slowly, from not being what they're supposed to be." Captain Stone's response was immediate. "Already working on it, pilot. We've got teams heading to their original homeworld to assess the situation. If it's habitable, we'll help them go home." This was the pattern emerging across human space. Wherever humans went, they brought not conquest but liberation. They were teaching other species to remember who they had been before the Velthrons saved them on the Velthron homeworld. Quinder presented his latest research to an increasingly desperate council. "The human contamination is spreading faster than we can contain it. 17 species have now refused their medication protocols. 3 have demanded return to their original worlds." Zoltan slammed his hand on the council table. "This is unacceptable. Deploy the containment fleets. We must isolate the humans before they destroy everything we have built." "Counselor," Quinder said quietly, "our containment fleets cannot match human military capability. Every engagement has resulted in Velthron defeat. The humans fight with a coordination and determination that our tactical computers cannot predict or counter. Then we use the ultimate protocol. We sterilize every world the humans have touched and start over. The council chamber fell silent. The ultimate protocol had never been used before. It involved the complete destruction of entire star systems. Something so extreme that even the Velthrons had considered it unthinkable. But before Zolthan could give the order, alarms began blaring throughout the Velthron homeworld. On the great viewing screen, impossible images appeared. Human ships were emerging from hyperspace all around the planet. But these weren't military vessels, they were rescue ships. Elena Rodriguez's voice filled the council chamber. Broadcast. On every communication frequency. People of the Velthron homeworld, this is Admiral Rodriguez of the Human Liberation Fleet. We have not come to conquer or destroy. We have come to offer you something your leaders have denied you for millions of years, the choice to be free. Ben Rivers stood beside Elena on the bridge of the flagship, watching as thousands of Velthron civilians looked up at the human ships with wonder rather than fear. Elena, are you sure about this? We're basically betting the future of both species on the idea that even Velthrons can choose freedom over security. Elena smiled, thinking about everything humanity had learned about their enemies. Ben, they're not really our enemies. They're just another species that's been trapped by their own success. They built a system so focused on safety that they forgot how to live. On the planet below, ordinary Velthrons were experiencing something they had never felt before: curiosity about what lay beyond their carefully controlled society. For the first time in millions of years, they were asking questions that their leaders couldn't answer. High Counselor Zolthan stared at the human ships surrounding his world and realized that everything had changed. The humans hadn't come to destroy the Velthron collective. They had come to free it. And that was far more terrifying than any weapon they could have brought. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the space station New Horizon, watching as representatives from 47 different species gathered for the most important meeting in galactic history. 6 months had passed since the human liberation of the Velthron homeworld, and the galaxy was transforming in ways no one had imagined possible. Kai Nakamura, now serving as head of the new Galactic Communications Council, reported the latest updates. Elena, we're receiving requests for assistance from 12 more species. Word is spreading faster than we can respond. Finn O'Brien, the human ambassador to the former Velthron territories, looked exhausted but hopeful. The Kefler have successfully recolonized their original homeworld. Their natural warrior instincts are returning, but they're using them to protect other species rather than conquer them. Dr. Marcus Webb entered the observation lounge, followed by an unlikely companion, Veltar, the former Velthron Prime Speaker, who had chosen to work with the Human Liberation Movement. The alien looked different now, less rigid and more alive than during their first encounter. The transformation continues to exceed all projections, Veltar said, his mental voice carrying emotions that Elena had never heard from a Velthron before. My people are experiencing feelings we had suppressed for so long that we had forgotten they existed. Zara Oduya, the leader of the freed Kefler, spoke through the translation device at her throat. Your species has given us back something we thought was lost forever, the right to choose our own destiny. How can we ever repay such a gift? Elena turned from the viewport to address the gathering. You don't owe us anything, Zara. Freedom isn't something that can be bought or sold. It's something every species deserves by right of existence. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Captain Alex Stone, who was leading the military coordination efforts across the former collective territories. Elena, we have a situation developing in the Outer Rim. A group of Velthron hardliners has seized control of several battle stations and is threatening to use scorched earth tactics against any world that refuses to return to collective control. Elena felt her heart sink. She had hoped that the transformation of Velthron society would be peaceful, but change was never easy for any species. How many ships are we talking about, Alex? Approximately 300 vessels, including 2 planet killers. They're led by someone calling himself War Premier Colfax. Intelligence suggests he represents the old guard who would rather destroy the galaxy than see it free. Veltar's mental presence grew heavy with sadness. Colthex was my predecessor as Prime Speaker. He represents those among my people who cannot accept that our way of life was wrong. He will fight to the death rather than admit that the collective was built on oppression. Dr. Webb studied the tactical display showing the positions of the rebel Velthran fleet. Elena, this could be exactly what we need. Everyone turned to look at the xenobiologist in surprise. Webb smiled grimly. Think about it. Up until now, the liberated species have been asking us to solve their problems for them. They're still thinking like protected populations rather than free peoples. This threat could be the catalyst they need to take responsibility for their own defense. Finn O'Brien nodded slowly. Marcus is right. If we handle this crisis ourselves, we're just replacing the Velthrans as the galactic protectors. But if the free species work together to defend themselves, they become truly free, Elena finished. It's a huge risk, though. If we're wrong about their readiness, a lot of people could die. Zara Oduya stood up, her warrior heritage evident in every movement. Admiral Rodriguez, with respect, that choice should not be yours to make. My people have weapons and ships. We are capable of fighting. Let us prove that freedom means more than just the absence of chains. Similar declarations came from representatives of other liberated species. The Vorth offered their knowledge of underwater warfare. The Xenakari, former deep space miners, volunteered their heavy industrial ships. Even some reformed Velthrans pledged their support for the cause of galactic freedom. Elena looked around the room at the faces of beings who had been helpless victims just months before and were now volunteering to risk everything for the principle of self-determination. All right, then. We do this together, as equals. The next few days saw frantic preparation as the Free Species Alliance, as they had begun calling themselves, organized their response to the hardliner threat. Human advisors worked with alien commanders to develop tactics that played to each species' strengths while minimizing their weaknesses. Tommy Kyun found himself training Kethler pilots in advanced fighter techniques. The key is not to think like a machine, he explained to his eager students. Machines are predictable. Be chaotic, be unexpected, be willing to try things that seem impossible. Dr. Nina Petrov worked with Xenakari engineers to retrofit their mining equipment into weapons platforms. Your cutting beams are actually more effective against Velthran armor than our military weapons, she told them. Sometimes the most dangerous tool is one that wasn't designed for war. The confrontation came in the Sigma Draconis system, where Colthex had positioned his fleet around a world inhabited by a peaceful species called the Meltari. His ultimatum was simple: surrender and return to collective rule, or watch their world burn. Elena stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity, watching as the combined fleet of free species approached the Velthran position. It was a sight that would have been impossible just a year ago, former enemies working together. Species that had never met before fighting side by side for a common cause. All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez, she broadcast on all frequencies. Remember, we're not here to destroy the Velthrans. We're here to give them the same choice we've given everyone else, the freedom to choose their own path. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Instead of the clean, predictable engagements that had characterized Velthran warfare for millions of years, this was chaotic and adaptive. Kethler fighters used pack tactics learned from their ancient ancestors. Vorth vessels moved through space like they were swimming through their deep oceans. Xenakari ships struck from unexpected angles with improvised weapons. The Velthran hardliners, despite their superior technology, found themselves completely overwhelmed by the unpredictable nature of their opponents. Every time they adapted their tactics to counter one species, another would attack from a completely different angle, but the real turning point came when Veltar broadcast a message to the rebel fleet. Brothers and sisters, I speak to you as one who has walked the path you now travel. I understand your fear, your anger at seeing our ancient order crumble, but look around you. See what freedom has brought to the galaxy. On the main view screen, images appeared of the liberated worlds. Former collective species working together, creating art and music and literature that would have been impossible under the rigid control of the old system. Velthrons and humans and dozens of other species, collaborating on projects that pushed the boundaries of science and philosophy. This is not the end of our people, Veltar continued. This is our chance to become something greater than we ever were as rulers. We can be partners, teachers, friends. We can help build a galaxy where every species reaches its full potential. 1. By one, ships began breaking away from Colfex's fleet. Velthrin crews who had been following orders out of duty rather than conviction chose to join the alliance of free species. Within hours, the war premier found himself commanding fewer than 50 vessels. Colfex's final transmission was filled with rage and despair. You have doomed the galaxy to chaos and war. Without our guidance, these primitive species will destroy themselves and each other. Elena's response was calm and confident. Maybe they will make mistakes. Maybe there will be conflicts and problems. But those will be their mistakes to make and their problems to solve. That's what freedom means, the right to succeed or fail on your own terms. The remnants of the hardliner fleet jumped to hyperspace, disappearing into the unknown regions beyond the galactic rim. Some said they were planning to build a new empire. Others believed they would eventually return seeking peace. But for now, they were gone, and the galaxy was free to determine its own future. 3 months later, Elena stood in the same observation lounge where the crisis had begun, but everything had changed. The Free Species Alliance had formally adopted the Galactic Freedom Charter, a document that guaranteed the right of every species to self-determination while establishing frameworks for cooperation and mutual aid. Veltar approached her, his mental presence warm with gratitude. Admiral, my people owe you a debt that can never be repaid. Elena shook her head. You don't owe us anything, Veltar. If anything, we owe you for teaching us that even the most rigid systems can change if enough people choose freedom over security. Dr. Webb joined them at the viewport where they could see ships from dozens of species working together to build new colonies and research stations. You know what the most amazing thing is? This isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning. For the first time in galactic history, we don't know what's going to happen next. Elena smiled as she watched a group of young beings from different species working together on some project that probably would have been impossible under the old collective system. That's the best part about freedom, Marcus. It means the future is full of possibilities that no one can predict or control. As she spoke, a new ship appeared at the edge of the system, sleek and unfamiliar, clearly belonging to a species that had never been part of the collective. First contact with a truly independent civilization. Elena Rodriguez, former commander of a remote monitoring station, now admiral of the Free Species Alliance, felt the familiar thrill of facing the unknown. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and for the first time in millions of years, every species in it was free to explore those wonders on their own terms. The age of enforced peace was over. The age of chosen cooperation had begun.